How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 21st of November 2022. As expected, we are seeing lower prices on Bitcoin, lower prices on Binance. They're the two main ones that I'm paying attention to now. I'm going to be explaining what I'm going to be doing on Bitcoin going forward. But before I do, if you find value in the content that I create, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. And with that said, Bitcoin for me, I've been watching Bitcoin, I've been watching Binance, and Binance is obviously the easier one, by default to kind of want to gravitate to, because we spend a lot of our time on the Binance Smart Chain and we say, okay, it's getting to a point now where it's relatively cheap. It wouldn't be a bad idea to pick some up for that next bull run. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be waiting and being really, really patient with Binance because it's surrounded by a lot of things that could potentially, catapult it to the upside or catapult it to the downside. And as long as that ability or possibility is still there for Binance to drop very aggressively based on news, based on an exchange going down, based on exposure to an exchange, whatever it will be, then I'm not interested in getting involved in Binance until I see a price level that I'm interested in that makes sense to me, which we'll go over in a little while. But for now, Bitcoin had a really nice drop here, almost no relief, and then obviously we could be seeing the secondary impulse. That's going to take us down to around about 11,655. I mentioned recently in my Patreon that basically anywhere from sort of 14,000 and lower, down to around about 10. So we'll say 14,000 to 10,000 is an area that I'm interested, in paying attention to. I have recently moved some funds back onto Swissborg, where I'm going to be looking to potentially, engage with Bitcoin. This is absolutely not financial advice as always. My intention, has always been to keep people out of all of this since last year. So since last year, when we were up at 69,000, I've been telling people to leave it alone all the way down to at least minimum 20,000. And thankfully, people that are very close to me, people that trust me, have stayed out of Bitcoin all the way up until this point here. Now, does it mean we're not going to continue going lower? Does it mean that this is the bottom? I don't believe it is. I think we are going to continue going lower. And from this point downwards to around about sort of 11,655, possibly as low as 8K. I'm expecting the possibility that we could go as low as $8,000 on Bitcoin. And as such, I'm being very, very patient and very cautious about the way that I'm engaging with the markets. As you guys know, I've been basically sitting on my hands through all of this. Yeah. I've been sitting on my hands through all of this because I've seen no indication whatsoever that we are putting in a bottom and that we're going to start that next bull run. And to be honest, there's no way it's starting this year, not a chance. We have to go into 2023. See how the year starts, see what happens from now until then as we close out the year. Then we can get a better feel for whether or not we should be paying attention to or buying certain assets, depending on what's happening, at that moment. There's a lot to take into consideration, a lot of things that we need to be doing. But for now, I'm expecting that secondary drop on Bitcoin. And excuse me. As I've mentioned, I am expecting the 11,655 and potentially as low as all the way through this liquidity pool and as low as 8,000. I'm going to say now, I apologize if you can hear the wind outside. I can't control the wind, but it is really, really windy. So I don't know if the microphone's picking that up. So I'll just go over to Binance. Now, Binance is a little bit different. As I've said, I'm being very cautious with Binance because there's a lot of things that could potentially affect Binance. It could be an exchange that goes down. It could be exposure to a particular exchange. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Binance, but I'm not interested in getting involved in this at the moment. The price that I actually want to see is 200 or lower. Don't want to touch it at this point. I want to see what the response is at this liquidity pool. I am almost 99.9% sure we are going to hit 235, right? It's just by default, just that sort of secondary drop into this level. If we drop down to the daily chart, we can see that impulse. It's just started. We may get that final push. It's not, here's the thing. It's not accelerating into these lows, not as aggressively as you would expect. So it's not these lows that it's going for in terms of scooping up liquidity. It's this. It's eating into all of this over here. So as it starts to drive, I am expecting that 235. If it starts to accelerate from around about 245, then expect 235 pretty quickly. May go as low as sort of 230, might even go even lower. But the point is, and this is really, really important, if you look at the move that came into this level up here, the drop, the relief, the rebalance, the drop, and then that secondary impulse. Now, we're not seeing any indication whatsoever, right, that Binance wants to go higher. In fact, when this first happened, off the news that Binance was going to be potentially acquiring FTX. I told everybody close to me, I was like, leave it. It's going to be back down at 260 very soon. And I've got that on record. In multiple channels, across multiple chat rooms that I'm in. There was no way it was going to stay up there. People need to understand something about the markets, right? What we see in cryptocurrency and what we see in all financial markets at the moment is a function of what's happening around the world. Now, whatever theory you subscribe to, whether you subscribe to the trying to get CBDCs to control everybody, whether you subscribe to the idea that cryptocurrency needs to be regulated, and that's why the markets are really, really slow at the moment until there is some regulation for the big institutions to come in as they feel more confident to engage in cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter. What matters is, while all of this is going on, we're not going higher, basically. We're just not. So why engage? Why bother? And for those people out there, right, that have been attacking me, talking about particular projects, saying, well, this project's at a good price, it's going to be at a better price if you just leave things be. If it's on the Binance Smart Chain, your project's going to be at a better price, as it continues to drop lower. Take that as you will. It's not financial advice. I've got no intention of getting into back and forths with people. My intention has always been to keep people safe in the markets. I believe I'm doing a really, really good job at that. But ultimately, there are going to be people that get really annoyed because I'm right. I don't want to be right. I don't care about being right. What I care about is keeping people safe in the markets and making sure that instead of engaging at 252 where Binance is right now, just leave it. Let it get down to 235 and you've saved yourself a little bit of money, right? So with all of that said, going forward, my main focus is Bitcoin. This is where I'm, focusing most of my attention. I am being mindful of what's happening, with Binance, the way that it's moving, but all of this is with the intention of accumulating safely, calmly, methodically. And then as we come out of this, insane bearish, sort of horrible, crappy market, and we start to see some highs taken, and we start to really get back to 25K, 30K, stabilize and so on, then we can start thinking about potentially, we've formed a bottom, let's kind of assess and see where the volume's going from that point, sort of forward. I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day. Don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're not already in my Discord, the link's in the description below. I talk about a lot of different things in there, and I will be more active as things start to settle for me. And with that said, I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you guys very, very soon. All the best. Ciao for now.